Hello, hello, hello. This is Adrienne Berg, and you just heard some beautiful music. And that is very rare that you can sit and simply listen. But that is what this show is really all about. Part of our culture vulturing, and you know we talk about culture vulturing in every single week, is music, and very special music today, jazz, because we're here with Melba Miller. I'm one of her fans. Let's call me a groupie. She has actually created Melba Miller's Jazz Oasis in Palm Springs in our own cultural center. But don't be worried, you can actually have a glass of wine and a Prosecco in our cultural center. It's a beautiful music venue to begin with, but it's made more beautiful because what Melba has created is what we would call a listening room. Now, you guys travel all over the world. I know you go to cabaret and I know you go to shows, but you haven't quite heard anything like this. And my question to Melba is going to be, at least one of them is, why not? So, Melba, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thank you, Adrienne, for having me on. I'm so excited. We've been talking about this for quite a while, and finally it's all come together. So great. The stars have aligned.
Well, it's wonderful because we do have something called culture vulture. And let me explain what the culture vulture is. Culture vulture is a person who travels specifically because they love live performance or they
Oh,
love live fine art, public art, museums. So it's a different kind of traveler, but the fact is that all of our data shows that as you get older, and this show caters to the 60 plus traveler, this is the experience you really want. You want to get close to the culture as well as adventure and nature, but this is a really important part of ageless travel. Now, you created a room, a space where people can go, relax, and really listen. And in your case, it's jazz, but lyrical jazz. So let's start with that. I've heard you, they've heard you now. You could sing anything. Why did you choose jazz?
well, jazz actually chose me. It started when I was a child. My father was a guitarist and singer, and I was exposed to, and this was about mid 50s as a child. To me, it is the most interesting. It's an intellectual exercise for a lot of people, for myself included, to hear it, to hear the lyric, to hear the melody throughout the improvisation, and to watch and to listen to these musicians, instrumentalists particularly, I'm talking about, go all the way out and yet come back in. And through all of that creativity and exploration, the melody is still there. And that just, I just didn't understand it. And it just fascinated me. And I loved it, like I said, from a very early age.
So let me ask this question. For those of you who haven't yet had the pleasure of seeing Melba Miller, she sings. So there's always a lyric, and it's usually a lyric you know to a song you know, but she's also surrounded by great musicians. And she steps away from the cabaret stage and she lets them play and then comes back in. How do you choose these musicians? They really seem to me to be world class. I don't
Oh,
really,
they are.
yeah,
They absolutely are.
and what's your criteria for them?
that that they've got to be really good, and then they also have to be available. So fortunately, I've been here in the Palm Springs area now for 14 years and had been going out ever since, I guess, for the past 12, getting my sea legs about me when I came back, finding out who was who, what was what, and going around and singing with people. And of course, as you do that, you meet more people. And I was fortunate to be able to meet some musicians at one of our old, but no longer in existence venues, Melvin's Sunday Jam, which introduced me to my current bass player. And it just sort of grew organically. So I could recognize excellence, and we just sort of took it from there.
Yeah, one of the things that I want to emphasize, and I said it in the introduction, is that what you've provided is a listening room. So I want to get to the travel side of this. Very recently, I was in Orlando, and there you have something called the House of Blues. Now, as you know, it's a big chain. You find the House of Blues everywhere. And there was an instrumentalist. I will tell you, Mel, but nobody could hear him. Everyone was on their phones. Everybody was talking to each other.
Right.
I have no idea how this man felt, but he seemed to be just plugging it away. And I bet that he's never heard and that nobody who goes there to sing in the House of Blues is heard because people are there to eat, talk with each other, discuss other things.
Right.
What is this divide? How has that occurred? Because I do know I'm from New York. There are such great cabarets. And when I go there now, they're mostly places for people to listen to their phone.
Yeah, the audience has changed. Number one, this cell phones have taken over our lives. But Adrian, everybody wants some music just for background noise, it seems to me.
Mhm.
Now, I sang at Melvin's, for example, which had a great tradition and a wonderful quartet every Sunday. But people go to these places for different reasons. Now, a place like House of Blues is a tourist attraction. A place like Melvin's is a tourist attraction. And even the Purple Room in Springs is also famous for its history, and tourists love to go there. But they just envision all of that as part of the experience, and they're not there specifically, oh, let's go there and let's listen to this musician play. So you're right, probably no one has heard anybody in those in the House of Blues.
On behalf of the tourists of the world who are the culture vultures, I am sure that even I, who really try to look, have missed quiet little places to really listen to music. Maybe they are small, maybe they're down on even, obscure. How do you find them?
I created this.
Yeah.
This was really by accident. One of my friends who plays a wonderful tenor was actually playing on a gig one Tuesday night at this place, the Cultural Center. And the Cultural Center used to be a famous old theater house, and with the standard three theaters for showing screening films and so forth. But they had a lounge upstairs, and they still do movies, they do plays and so forth, but the lounge upstairs was devoted to music. And every night there was a different kind of music. I went to that room and I looked around, and it was just so sweet. You've been there. Maybe it holds 50 people, small tables. There was no sports screens, nothing but people sitting there listening to music. And while I was sitting at the bar waiting, it has a little bar. When I was sitting there waiting to go up, a fellow came up to me and he said, "I know you. I've listened to you at on Sundays at the Melvin's Jam, and I can't hear a thing you're doing.
Mhm.
And I'm so excited to see you here." Well, I just looked around and thought, well, this is just a great room for the kind of music I want to do,
Right.
which is not always the Great American Songbook. There's plenty of other fabulous jazz music to be sung and heard that people know, but that nobody really does. And I wanted to be able to do some of that as well. So at that point, I fell in love with the room and did my singing and covered for the singer that was absent. I did a proposal and that I would create this haven, and it would be just for serious jazz listeners, and people responded. The center responded, they took a chance, and we're in our second season now, going into season 3.
Well, it's beautiful. And I have a hint and tip for the tourist about this who really would like to go to listening rooms. And this could be you might find yourself in Vienna and you want to hear certain kind of music. France, Africa. I just did this. I actually ended up in a listening room in Uganda.
Ooh.
How do you find them? I have to tell you that your guides, your Time Out magazine, very rarely are going to lead you to these places.
Right.
Even in New York, you will know the names, the Blue Note. It's not the same exactly what we're talking. The only way to do this, and it's not so easy, is to ask a musician. Go to the places you have found, the places you do know, the easy places, and at the end, hang out for a minute and say, I love this music, but I would like to go to a place where I could really quietly listen.
Yeah.
They know. It's only the musicians know, and they can help you.
Right.
Well, first of all, we're going to take a little bit of a break, but listening rooms are very, very rare and honestly very precious. When we come back, though, I'm going to give you a riff on the issue of money, and that is, as a tourist, I want to know about that tip jar. What is expected of somebody who's coming in
Yes.
and listening? Because it
Yeah.
doesn't matter where you are. I have been in, 54 below and so many
Yeah.
places that are high end. You've already spent $65 just to get in the door. But
Ex-
there's a tip jar. So
Exactly.
don't you guys go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Ain't a thing if it ain't got that swing. Shoo-ba, 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 shoo-ba.
If you've been thinking about a cruise, I've definitely got you covered with Cruises It. Now, we have just become affiliated with them. And who are they? Well, Cruises It is the top agency for all the main cruise lines and some of the less known cruise lines as well. Cruises It has access to booking space that's been open years in advance. So you can get the best cabins, and that's just number one. But they also make the prices lower. The cruise lines give Cruises It their own exclusive agency discounts. And if you're not from the cruise line, they have their own agency discounts that would apply as well. So you get both any discounts you would normally get on the cruise line, plus additional discounts that are given exclusively to Cruises It because they bring in so much business. On top of all those discount perks, when you book with them, you get the best rate guaranteed. And this is because Cruise Fair Watch system takes place. Now, what Cruises It does is it tracks the pricing until the final payment date. So you keep in mind that to get the best rate guaranteed, you have to use my site. We have affiliated with them specifically. I sat down, I met with them in Tucson, Arizona. I met with Marianne Weather. We've now become good friends. She gave me a direct line. Not only a link, which you can certainly use right away, but if you have questions, even a specific phone number. Cruises, it offers this not just to anyone that is one of our followers, but if you have friends and family, you can bring them in too. So just take a look at the show notes and you will see our dedicated phone line and our dedicated link. Happy sailing. And now we are back with the delightful Melba Miller. And you already have heard her a couple of times because I'm playing some of this throughout the show. It's such a pleasure to be able to relax. In my case, as you all know, it's always with a Prosecco and watch the show. But I have been very sensitive to this, Melba, this idea of noise and using phones because I have to use my phone during most of the events, including some of yours, because I'm there to post about it. I'm there to promote some of
Right.
it. And so I sometimes hide, I feel bad, but I have to do it, and I always feel I'm contributing something. However, I think it's wrong, to be honest with you. And that's one of the things we've been discussing. So the question for you is, how does it feel when somebody is doing that? Does it break concentration? And the second thing I want to talk about is tourist behavior when it comes to the tip jar. But first, is it disturbing or have you gotten used to this by now?
You have to get used to it. I wound up having very good experience in an environment that was loud, often loud and distracting. And if you're going to sing or play, you have to be focused on what you're doing and you just plow through it. Another thing that disturbs me is video cameras, the fact that they take videos and the lights will be on. When I first started my jazz Oasis, the first thing I said was that we video so that you don't have to, because that part is very distracting.
Yeah.
But if you're performing regularly, you perform in all kinds of environments, and you just need to keep your wits and your head about you and let whatever is going on in with the audience go on with the audience. So, as I said, I don't know how much time you spent at Melvin's in the old days, but it was definitely a testing ground. It was a proving ground. If you could do it there, you could do it anywhere.
I'm a newbie too to Palm Springs, so I was
Also,
but I have to tell a quick funny story. It won't take long, but I can't help it because Melba really triggered it in my mind. I've been on air and radio for many years, and I had to go to a Texas studio to do my usual New York show because I happened to be in Texas and I had to deliver the show, and my show is live. And I'm in this little tiny studio, which I rented so that I could be there, two places at once. And while I was recording, actually live, and it was a very serious show, it was about law and money call-in show. A chicken walked in.
Oh,
A chicken. So don't think that you're the only one.
yes. Okay, good.
And it wasn't just one chicken. So,
oh no. Well, it is Texas.
well, the worst part was that the farmer then came in to get the chicken.
Oh no.
Yes, and this one, and there's no such thing. This is live radio. There's no such thing as fixing.
Yes.
So here are people in New York City in the middle. I used to be in Penn Station, which was a really beautiful. It still is. Really
It is beautiful.
buildings there, Two Penn Plaza, and
yes,
that's the audience. And I have to say, well, the noise you're hearing.
Yes.
So anyway, that was that one. But yes, I know what you mean. You have to be nonplussed no matter what. Now, let's talk about tourist behavior. We talked about the phones and the talking, and you were very good at explaining that tourists come to places sometimes just for the place.
Yes.
And whatever music is there, and so on. But always there is a tip jar, and people do think about it. It's like any kind of tipping. What's appropriate? Should they tip?
Sure.
Does it go to the performers or does it go back to the house? What's the story of this?
Yeah. The tip jar is the air we breathe. I mean, because I get a budget very small for my jazz Oasis, and the tip jar is announced by everybody. It always goes to, or it really should go to, and let's say 99.9% of the time, it goes to the musician, whether it's split all with the singer and the musicians, or whether it's just divided with the between the musicians. That's just the way that goes. And so tipping is really important. It's just like at a restaurant, because the pay is so low. Tipping is how people actually make the deficit. But I understand, and I'm sensitive to the fact that in my case for Jazz Oasis, we've got a $20 cover.
Which is very
so
low.
You pay 20. Yeah, it's low. You come in, you pay $20. Okay, so you've done that. And then there's drinks that you may want, you or not. We don't have any minimum. You don't have to spend another penny beyond that if you don't want to. But plenty of people do, because we've got a nice little bar there. And then there's a tip jar on that bar. Yeah. That tip goes to, a couple of dollars goes to the bartender behind the bar. That's dedicated to us. And then the rest of it, there's another tip jar, right? There's a tip jar for the band, and we introduce it in the beginning. And I don't know that I always make a big enough point about it because I am sensitive to it, but you'll find that musicians will seed the jar with a $10 bill or a $20 bill. And that sort of is the suggested tip amount.
This is really a compliment, but this is from my point of view. I'm hearing what I think are world-class musicians.
Yes.
It's a tip jar. And I'm seeing people give a minimum of 5 and usually a maximum of 20.
Yes.
And this seems like a small amount of money for world-class musicians. So I'm always thinking to myself, does it really matter what's in there? Aren't they simply going to go buy themselves an even better glass of champagne? When I go to places like in Paris, or even some places, believe it or not, in Shanghai, you're paying, and I'm talking about jazz now, $75, maybe $100 to get in, plus your drinks and the tips of your drinks. And there's still a tip jar.
Yeah.
I still wonder, but now you're bringing home to me, and this was what I wanted to know. Is that money, that $5, $10, $20 important to the musicians?
Yes.
The answer is yes.
It absolutely is. Now, I don't know how much musicians are paid elsewhere. I can just tell you what's going on in the Coachella Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very low. And there was a period of time when some musicians would agree to even less. I don't think people are getting paid any more than they got in 1978. They tell me this all the time. Those extra dollars mean a lot to them. And in my case, my bass player drives from Riverside County. Your listeners may or may not know, but that's an hour drive every Tuesday. Other people are coming from other places. There are people that come in from LA. But meanwhile, I've got a 4-time Grammy winner on the set with me. And he's can only be doing this because he likes me and because this music is so good and they have such a blast playing, because it's not because I can offer him what he's worth. So to me, even if I can get it up to, let's say, $200 each with the tips that can bring it up to that, that's on a very good night. It's, that's what that should be the base, but it isn't.
This is a show, a travel show that really does the nitty-gritty, the inside things that nobody else asks because they're either embarrassed or they have nobody.
Sure.
So that's a very important one. But you just struck another note. See what I did? A Grammy winner. And that is today's musical recording scene.
No.
What about that? Is it prohibitive for somebody like yourself to go and record an album, offer an album? Because most of that music, again, you get online. You get it on
Right.
and so on. So
it's funny you should ask that question. There was a day that I was singing one Sunday, and I had a regular, it's like 6-song set at my favorite place on Sundays. And a singer came through and she was showing off her new CD. I drove home and thought, well, what am I doing? I'm coming and I'm singing, but, I don't have a CD to show for it. And I thought, well, okay, so then do one. But then I started to think about it. Now, I'm sure that it's controversial because you want to have a historical record, and at some point I will. I decided the thing, I decided I would do it, and then when I looked at it, I thought, no, why would I spend that money on that when it's going to go into the cloud? You drop one song at a time and you get 1/1000th of a penny for every time something is downloaded or purchased. I thought, well, gee, why am I doing that? That just felt to me like just an exercise. What I did was to take the money I was going to put on a CD, which is a few $1,000s minimum, and put it towards a show. And so I designed a show called Something Cool, where I sang everything I've ever wanted to sing in my life. I sang the monk songs. I sang all these things off the beaten path. I did mean Thelonious Monk. I sang Lambert, Hendricks, and Ross. I sang everything. But I paid the musicians with that money. So I hired the best people that I knew, and we had a fabulous show. So after that, it was, yeah, I can go and sing the same songs, or I can really find a spot that lets me expand. And you touched upon something that is really a part of why these guys, most of them are guys, want to do this with me. It's not for the money, it's for the music. And not just, what I'm singing. I choose all the songs, and I choose all the musicians, and I choose the order, and I choose the theme, but I let them stretch out. And for them to be able to play long solos and really be able to develop, because you can't just do something in a count of 16. We call it 8 bars. That's usually what you hear at Jazz Oasis. I sing and they play, and then but they play as much as they can stand.
I watched The Secret Signal.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We're people who've seen you over and over know you have the secret signals at the and when you go out. So now you've got a secret. And then now you know the audience is secret because we get to know that you paste it
Yes.
in a particular way. And it really
Yes.
is. It's charming. It's wonderful. Now, when we come back, I want to talk about a couple of things. One is where your favorite memories are, some instances of the past where you've played. Maybe they were funny, and maybe they were just heartwarming, or it was something so special that came up. I think that's people who know you now would like to hear about that. But the other thing I do want to talk about is music education with our kids, because we are the grandparents of the world.
Yes. Right.
We want to talk a little bit about what grandparents could maybe do to introduce their children, particularly from you, because that's how you became an aficionado from what you heard when you were little. So don't you guys go anywhere. We'll be right back.
I got it back, and that ain't good.
Did you know that 3,000 people receive the Ageless Traveler newsletter every single Tuesday, and it's free of charge? Well, you simply subscribe on our website, agelesstraveler.com, when you see the pop-up, or take a look at the resource section that's in the show notes accompanying this episode. You'll also see how directly you can subscribe to our newsletter. Now, what will you find in there? Well, every single week, you will get news you can use about travel, cultural experiences you can enjoy, suggestions for luxury travel for less, and yes, I answer your questions. And you can even send me those questions by text or voicemail, and you'll see just how to do it when you receive your Travel Tuesday newsletter. Plenty of discounts, plenty of inspiration, so that you never stop traveling. That's agelesstraveler.com. Take a look at the pop-up, subscribe, or take a look at our resource list accompanying this and every episode, so that you get a direct link to Travel Tuesday. And now we are back, and sadly we're at the last part of our show, but we're with Melba Miller. She's easy to listen to if you're here in Palm Springs. You're hearing bits and pieces of her wonderful music on our show. You're going to enjoy this. I think, Melba, honestly, people are probably very disappointed that they can't put on iTunes and pay the 1/100th of a penny and hear you, but maybe that will change. But there's a couple of things. Let's get nostalgic. If you had to relive one wonderful or two wonderful performances, when were they and what would they be?
Well, I will tell you, the first one that jumps in my mind is the one that I just referred to, the Something Cool show that I did. It enabled me to really stretch out. And it was in 2023 when I did the Something Cool show, because that enabled me to stretch and to choose music that people were not automatically familiar with, that I had always wanted to sing, but that not everybody can play. So here's the secret, Adrienne, and that is that the instrumentalists I'm speaking of now play from gig to gig. They'll play in one place, they'll go and play in another place, sometimes 2 times in the same day, sometimes 3, sometimes they have a regular thing, but they play what they know. Right. And when you go in to sing with somebody, you need to sing what they know, or you can bring a chart sometimes, but most of the time in this arena, they don't want charts. They want to play what they play. And those are the standards. The Great American Songbook, there are, 1,000 songs in there that people know that they play regularly. But if you're a singer like me and you have a musical interest as I do, you want to get out of the Great American Songbook and you want to sing some of these other great, fantastic pieces of music that are beloved in the jazz universe. Mm-hmm. And so what you have to do is pay musicians to learn that music. You have to provide the charts for that music. You need to, that takes time and money. And that's what happened for that show. And once I did that, it was so freeing because then I realized, well, gee, all I need is money and I can get people to play anything I want them to play, give it enough time. And if I provide them with the right charts, the support, that was
like a painter with the same paints all the time. You got new paints.
And you asked me for a heartwarming, fun experience. I'll just tell you that I started singing again once I hit my 60s. I lived in New York in my 20s and people say, "Oh, well, did you sing there?" And it was like, "Well, no. I was too young for the music that I wanted to sing." And my theory and preference is you need to have a little age on you if you're going to sing My Funny Valentine, for example. I mean, you have to have some life experience for these songs to really make sense. But so I started after a big breakup, I started going back out again in Philadelphia. And it was just wonderful. I was welcomed there and it was open mic. So you would go and put your name on a list. And I made friends with the guy who maintained the list. And trumpets would come and saxophones would come. All kinds of people came and they all put their names on the list. And then you would just sort of jog around and I would move my name around until I got to the right combination of people because by then you're listening and you know who you want to be behind you. And that was a wonderful and fun experience. And I made great friends there. But there is nothing like what I'm doing now. Nothing at all. Nothing.
Well, it's very unique. And one of the things about Palm Springs, and I brag about it, so I shouldn't, but I'm allowed because I'm a real New Yorker. I'm not from California. So if I say
right,
great, it's better. We do have incredible performers. And there are these small, wonderful venues, but this particular one is the most unique in general. It's really wonderful. So let's finish with this love of music. You obviously grew up with a love of music and you grew up with musicians.
Yeah.
In my case, it was exactly the opposite, but the result wasn't so different. And that was my mother, who loved music, couldn't sing, was actually told by a doctor not to sing to her child.
Oh, no. God, that's sad.
Yeah, but except the doctor was right because she didn't listen to him, and I can't sing either. And it's really pathetic, let me tell you. So I grew up with no ability to play any instrument, but with a tremendous love of music. And that came from Broadway shows of my father and listening to records.
Sure.
Was that. But it really started when I was very little, probably just about your age, when you were learning to perform and to memorize. It's hard for a love of music that's this deep to come late in life. It can, of course. But really, we want to share that with those of us who have it with
from the very beginning. Absolutely.
So I don't know what's being shared in schools. I don't know about the scuttlebutt you hear. I don't know if anybody's approaching you and saying, "Hey, come to this class," or "Come to the Brownies."
Right.
Show them what jazz is. Or is it just, a black box there where you're not seeing that kind of light? We do have it in art. Our museum brings schools in to look at fine art, but I haven't seen it quite that much when it comes to music, but I could be wrong. So what's your take on it?
Well, when I was a kid, I had a record player. And and little plastic records that had those little children's tunes on them. And that's, now I guess toddlers have iPads or something, and they're listening to those same kinds of child
They're looking to
songs.
Baby Shark.
They're looking to Baby Shark. Yes, well, I would have listened to Baby Shark, only mine would have been on a little tiny record player with those little red and yellow plastic records. But also in school. So there was always music, but also in school, when you got to be 9 years old in California, you got to take music lessons if you wanted. Public schools provided instruments for children in every single school. Some friends of mine and I were talking about that just the other night. We got instruments, in my school, it was clarinets and saxophones. You couldn't get anything you wanted. It depended on what the school's budget was and so forth. But we all got instruments, and anybody that wanted to take music lessons did. So I took clarinet, and then later on it was violin. But today they've gotten rid of all the arts, all the music. Those were considered to be elective courses and not contributing to somebody's final career necessarily. Those classes became undervalued and underfunded, and from the late 80s on. So now I happen to know somebody here at Sunset Productions, and they collect instruments and they distribute instruments to children in school. So she's a grandmother, and this is her foundation and her life's purpose. She's also a musician that does that around here.
So I think we have so many responsibilities as grandparents, but if we can possibly get the mothers and the fathers to let us take the kids. In most cases, you couldn't take a child. And I'm talking
Right.
about an 8-year-old into a traditional jazz club, but you could, in this particular cultural one, you could do that.
Oh, yes. In fact, children, I mean, not young, but I've had a couple of people that have asked me if they could bring their preteens. It's like, yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah, well, there's one reason that we didn't reveal here, and that is because it starts sometimes at 5 and sometimes at 5:30. So you're not bringing a 7-year-old to a 9 p.m. or a 10 p.m., gym.
That's exactly right.
So it makes it very easy. But again, it's unique. Very, very hard to find.
And the fact that they need to be, well behaved, let's just face it. So I've seen people bring children to places that I've been, and sometimes it was okay and sometimes it wasn't. Not the cultural center so much, but because it's clear what the purpose is there, and it's kind of obvious. But it's important to expose children to good music. I record everything from from Jazz Oasis, and I have a YouTube channel. What I don't do enough of, simply because I don't have the time, is to post my music all the places it can be posted. But yes, it is definitely, all you have to do is go to YouTube and look up Melba Miller Sings, and you can see a whole bunch of performances of individual songs, things that I've edited, much like the two that I sent to you that you are playing today. And those are just excerpts, because most of our songs are 4 minutes longer because of the solos and so forth.
So one of the things that our audience knows, and of course, as soon as they're listening to it, they're going to see it, is that we put the URLs or the links to all of the books, the music that all
Right.
wonderful guests have. So you'll be able to click, and you'll be very lucky. And if you do want to tell your grandchildren, there is such a thing as jazz, and it is not all instrumental. You might like it. Why don't we sit down and have some potato chips and just listen to this? It's a lot of fun, because you can't always go. You can't always go, even though our podcast is about travel. You can't.
Yes, right.
This would be something that you can do for fun. And if there's FaceTime, which we all use, you can say, I want to show you something. Listen to this. So,
and let me also say that don't be afraid of instrumental jazz. There is and as you can say, you can ask somebody, where would I start? what would I play first? And there's very accessible jazz.
And we also always enjoy the things that we've never heard before.
Yeah.
People who come to hear you, they know a lot. They're aficionados. They know a lot. And every time they hear a song they've never heard, it's like a buzz. I don't know. I never. Did you hear that one? So that's
Right. I like to mix in a little bit of both so that, I'm not like, I don't want you running away, but on the other hand, yeah, here's something you don't know.
Well, we thank you so much. This has been a delight, and it's a beautiful departure from where to eat in Paris when it comes to travel shows. There's nothing wrong with that, but I love this kind of personal work that we're doing, and I love the fact that you were 60 and over when you really restarted.
Yes, because yes.
Goes right into the Oasis Travelers.
Oh, absolutely. I am your smack dab in the middle of your demographic.
Perfect demographic for really enjoying life.
Thank you to the listeners. Happy trails and happy travels. And if your paths should land you here in Palm Springs, definitely come upstairs on a Tuesday. There's always a reason to come to Jazz Oasis. Thank you again.
That is beautiful. For you all to do, please go ahead, subscribe to Travel Tuesday. You'll get these hints and tips and discounts every single Tuesday. Listen to our podcasts because you can tell if you're listening to this one, they're all delightful. If you don't know how to listen to podcasts and somebody's just tuning you in on this one, go to agestraveler.com. It has a tutorial on how to listen to podcasts on Apple or iTunes, or we're on Audible. We're on everything that Melba mentioned, Spotify, so on. And from my heart to you, never stop traveling. A lighter thing since you made this night a thing divine.